Hey guys, it's Sam, and welcome to Caps Lock, a podcast designed to help you live bigger, better, louder, and longer. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for listening and for giving this a chance and for coming here in pursuit of your best self. This is a space where we are going to grow together, and I hope that it helps you go forward confidently, unapologetically, and with purpose. It's time to live your life in Caps Lock. If that mission feels aligned for you, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. I am an extremely enthusiastic person. This sounds so corny, but like everything lights me up inside. I'm like a puppy. It's likely part of my whole too much thing, and I'm confident I've come across people in my life who actually think it's fake because it's almost ridiculous. But honestly, it is completely genuine. I appreciate the little things so much. And I'm so easy to please. Like I always joke that I'm like a cheap date. Like if you tell me that you thought of me when you saw something on the street, I'm smiling about that for a week straight. But my mom always says something that has really stuck with me over the years. And that is that people's best and their worst qualities are often two sides of the same coin. In the context of talking about me, we were talking about how I'm so positive and so happy so much of the time. And she was like, "You're human sunshine. Like when you're having a good day, everybody has a good day because you spread it and share it and it radiates out of every pore and it is completely contagious." But the reason we were discussing this topic in the first place is because that day I was not having a good day. And I have a tendency to catastrophize. So I don't just have like not good days. I have really good days and I have really bad days. And so like this conversation I was having with her, it was kind of a learning moment. I was still in high school the first time she said it to me. And I was just like, I had so much growing up to do. So we were talking about how I need to be really deliberate and try to be really thoughtful and considerate of other people on my really bad days, because the flip side of my sunshine coin is that just like when I'm having a really good day and everyone else has a really good day as a result, when I'm having a really bad day, that is contagious too. I get so low, I can speak so negatively, and just like my sunshine, it radiates out of every pore and it could literally choke the air out of every room. And while my family has always given me space to feel my really big feelings, sometimes there are definitely times when I'm in one of those moods and I project it onto other people in a way that's just like not fair. So that was just the context of our conversation that day. But that whole kind of saying about your best and worst qualities sometimes being two sides of the same coin, it just like really got me thinking about it in various applications. And I've come to realize that for me, it's really true. Like it really rings true. Like I said, I'm so easy to please. A text from a friend saying like, "Hey, want to go for a walk this weekend?" That could change the course of my entire day. And because I'm a human on planet Earth, those little things are so easy to come by. And so I get to be that way. Like I get to be so happy and so sunshiny almost every single day. I've been romanticizing everything since like way before it was a TikTok trend. I just wasn't doing it for content. Like I was doing it in my real life. So if you picture my life as like one of those heartbeat monitors, like in a hospital, you are seeing like 100 little spikes every single day. But when I'm down, that heartbeat monitor just looks really flat, like totally straight line. Usually, if I'm just down for a day or two, I'm like really emotional and fragile and sad. And that's how you know it's going to like come and go. But when I'm going through it in a sort of like longer term way, when I'm not even necessarily like devastated about anything in particular, but I'm like indifferent and unmotivated and lethargic and just kind of like blah, that's the worst because when I'm feeling that way, it's sometimes hard to pinpoint like what's even wrong. And when you can't pinpoint what's wrong, it is so hard to fix it. I am very blessed to have access to talk therapy as part of my toolkit for taking care of myself. But I also have a really extensive toolkit of things that are just like more accessible, many of which are easy and free that kind of help pull me out of it when I'm just feeling really down. So I do want to say that, like, if you think you are experiencing depression and it's been a long time and it's not going away, you should speak to a professional because nothing I share on this podcast is intended to replace medical advice. But if you are just feeling down or stuck or in a rut and overall kind of like blah and you want to pull yourself out of it, this episode, I am going to share an exhaustive list of literally all the different things I have tried or learned about in my lifetime to do that. Now, obviously, some of them are like wellnessy in the sense that they are for growth and self-reflection and self-betterment, but some of them are just like straight up indulgent because I think it's really easy to forget when you're wrapped up in the wellness space that you don't always wanna make a gratitude list or, like, move your body, and the key to it, in my opinion, is listening to your body and to your heart and doing what feels good and what feels right. So, as always, take what you need and leave what you don't. Now, I do wanna get the therapy one out of the way since I do think that different types of it could be really great for all different types of people, but then the rest of the list after that is kind of less obvious. So, the first thing on the list is therapy. Like I said, this is only part of my toolkit. Obviously, everybody's needs in therapy are different. For some people, talk therapy on its own is enough. And for other people, medication or different types of therapy help. And even when you're doing like all the right kinds of therapy, it is still, I think, only part of a healthy and balanced life. And I think it's important that you are not relying solely on therapy to make you feel good, if that makes sense. For me, therapy helps a lot because I love practical advice. Like, I am such a good student. My trainer turned like my physical personal trainer turned best friend Maddie. One of the very first things she said to me was like, "You're literally a dream client because when I give you homework, you actually do it." So like when I go to therapy or when I go to my personal trainer, like I take home their advice and I actually apply it to my life. And honestly, it's so motivating for me when I apply a tool or a strategy to my real life and it bears positive results. So, like, for that reason, I love therapy. However, for me, the reason it's only one part of my toolkit is because I have learned over the course of it that I am someone who is like highly self aware and I over intellectualize my feelings. And so, like, that's great sometimes because I'm often able to identify the sources of my problems and, like, rationalize why I feel certain ways and why things bother me. So I have, like, a pretty clear understanding of the root causes of a lot of my, like, emotional experience. However, it's not great in other ways. Namely, that I often use that intellectualization as a substitute for actually feeling my feelings. And I focus on, like, the logic and the analysis of it all. And since I'm not allowing myself to experience the feelings, I'm not always able to fully resolve them. I'm still working on different ways to use therapy to help resolve my big feelings instead of just, like, repeatedly talking about them. And some things I've heard really work for accessing and processing your feelings are as follows. I'm gonna tell you about two things. The first one is called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. In this type of therapy, you move your eyes in a specific pattern, like sometimes it's like a dot that goes back and forth, and you follow guided instructions, and it helps you reprocess traumatic memories in a way that encourages healing. So basically, like the science of it all is your brain stores normal memories in like a smooth, coherent way, but it stores traumatic memories in a different way that's like it's kind of just like choppier. And your brain kind of during the traumatic event, your brain kind of flickers between being online and going offline. And so that leads to like a disconnect between what your body actually experiences and what your brain stores in your memory for you to access later. And so then that results in basically leaving like an open emotional wound in your brain, so to speak. And then since it's an open wound, you go about your life, and then things in the outside world can come and trigger your trauma, and then you have to relive it over and over, and the wound never heals. So EMDR can really help you access that trauma and reprocess it in a way that actually heals it. Now, the second thing I've heard about that sounds great is called somatic healing. This, I think more people have probably heard of. It's basically a type of therapy that starts in your body. And so you use movement and breath work and like your mind body connection to access traumatic memories or experiences from a physical place of feeling it before you try to rationally explain it using words. So, anyway, I don't know. I think I might try one or both of those things because I know a lot of people who intellectualize their feelings who have actually found healing with these strategies. And if you can relate to analyzing your feelings instead of feeling them, I think that could be a really helpful thing to add to your journey, sort of. So if I do either one of those things, I will definitely be taking notes and bringing it back to the pod to talk to you about it. Because, like I said, I've heard personal accounts of people finding healing and success with these strategies. And I think they're really interesting. Okay, strategy number 2. No matter what you are feeling down about, and even if you don't actually know what you're feeling down about, get off your screens, get off your phone, and get off your computer. I notice a dramatic difference in my baseline mood on a week when I'm on my phone too much versus a week when I'm using it less. And I think there are many reasons for this, some that are obvious and others that are less obvious. The first is a little bit less obvious, which is that exposure to blue light after the sun goes down affects your circadian rhythm. Now, like we know that and that part's obvious, but the part of it that I think is less known is that your circadian rhythm does not just affect your sleep. It also affects your neurotransmission and hormone secretion. And I don't think people talk about that enough. Because when combined, disruption to your sleep cycle, which by the way makes you more vulnerable to mood disorders. So disruption to your sleep cycle, neurotransmission, and hormones, when you're experiencing all of those things together as a result of blue light exposure and circadian rhythm disruption, that was shown in a study to cause higher rates of depressive symptoms. So like even just the blue light itself is putting you in a depressive mood. Then there are also like the more obvious reasons. For example, the way we either consciously or subconsciously compare the all-encompassing like good, bad, and ugly of our own lives to the whole rest of the world's highlight reels. Like those are the best, most picturesque moments of everybody else's lives. And we are comparing like the worst moments of our life to the best moments of others. Of course, you are going to feel like you come up short in comparison and you're going to feel unfulfilled comparing against like the best thing that happened to someone in their entire year. So I can personally say that setting time limits on my screen time and especially on my social media consumption makes a huge long-term difference on my mental health. And if you're in a rut, I think this should be the very first step you take to get out of it, even if you're not sure that like the screen itself is like causing it or your like comparison is causing it. I think getting rid of your screen at all is baseline going to elevate your mood and make you feel better. And I think that just kind of like opens you up to all these other kind of healing strategies and it makes them all work more effectively. So I think the very first thing you do is put down your screens. Strategy number 3, I don't care how cold it is, New York, go the fuck outside. It is scientifically proven that going outside improves your mood. Exposure to green spaces like leaves, trees, plants in nature releases serotonin in your brain. And fun fact about serotonin, they literally put it in antidepressants. Besides that, sunlight helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which I just explained why that's good for your mood. And it also helps your body synthesize vitamin D. And vitamin D is crucial for your mental health. So like in the winter, I actually take a vitamin D supplement because I thought I was like seasonally effective. Turns out I just wasn't going outside enough. Plus, going outside, another good reason you should do it, being around other people, like just even in the vicinity of other people, even if you're not talking to them, makes a huge difference in terms of relieving feelings of isolation, even if it's in just like a subconscious way. It also helps you kind of zoom out, being around other people, it helps you like zoom out and appreciate that every single one of us on this planet has a whole life that you know nothing about. Like, think about how complicated your life is, how many relationships, how many beautiful things and difficult things and painful things you experience. That guy over there at the coffee shop, he has a whole world that is just as layered and complicated and busy as yours is, and you don't know a lick about it. I just think like understanding and appreciating that every single one of us is experiencing a whole world of like love and sadness and happiness and beauty and pain. Like there's just human connection in knowing that. So go outside. I swear to God, I say it all the time. Sometimes I will spend a week where I just like work from home and I barely leave my desk and I think I'm depressed. And then I'll go outside to like get an iced chai from my favorite coffee shop on the corner. And I'm like, oh, I'm not depressed. I've just been inside for too long. That's so fucking real, you guys. Also, for what it's worth, when you're inside for that long and the sad vibes are vibing, it's probably also partly due to the unavoidable huge amount of screen time you're experiencing in your home. So like those two really go hand in hand, kind of like turn off your screens and also go outside. So some low lift ideas for when you're needing to do that. Go for a walk with no purpose except to walk. And here's the key to this one, and this is going to sound like very serial killer of me, but go with no headphones. Or like if you feel so awkward doing that, like, I don't know, that's crazy, like, and reflect. But if you feel so weird doing that, then like feel free to put your AirPods in, but don't listen to music. I think there's something about hearing the sounds of the outside world that reminds you that like you're not alone in it. Your problems are not the loudest thing out there. It's actually the siren that's going off in the background right now. But like hear and feel and see and smell the outside world. Like immerse yourself in it. Another idea, this sounds so silly, you guys, but like go pick up your food instead of getting it delivered. Not only will it shave $20 off the cost of your Uber Eats, but going out to pick it up like demands a low stakes human interaction. And even a low stakes human interaction releases oxytocin and endorphins in your brain. Fun fact. So even if it's just like, hey, my name is Sam, I'm here to pick up my order, that's all it takes. And like smiling back and forth at the guy handing you your food order. You get outside, you get your human interaction, your brain is releasing chemicals, you're saving $20. There's literally no good reason to get your food delivered anymore, guys. We all should be, if you are able to order food, you are also able to pick up food. So go out and do that. Same thing, buy a morning coffee, even if you normally don't. Get your human interaction in. And then this one I've been doing recently, and this is like kind of, I don't know, I feel like very ancient for doing this, but I'm doing my shopping in real life instead of online. I bought paper towels in a store the other day instead of Amazoning them. I know that makes me sound like so Gen Z to anyone listening who's like, oh, okay, like child, please. Like we all bought paper towels in stores before we Amazon them, but I know you're all Amazoning them now. So stop doing that. So go outside. Number 4, this one sounds kind of obvious, but I want you to spend time with your safe friends. Like we just learned that human interaction releases oxytocin and endorphins and serotonin and all the good things in your brain. And also, if you're able to spend some time with your friend where you're actually talking about how you're feeling, I don't know what it is, but like sometimes you can like unearth things when you're talking to your best friend that you just like never get to in therapy or with your partner or with your parents. Like there's something about talking to like your safest, best, closest friend who like will never judge you and has been there with you through it all that like sometimes you kind of can't reach that level with someone else. Sometimes it just has to be your friend. So whatever you do, go to workout classes together, host a girls' night, go to brunch or lunch or dinner, work from home together. Maybe you're going for a walk together. I do all of these things as frequently as possible. It's so good for my mental health and it's like healing to have bestie time. And one thing I really want to highlight that I really want to incorporate more into my life is I want to work from home with my friends more because I think a major reason why I feel down sometimes is because I spend long hours as like a solo entrepreneur, like a single member business owner, working on screens in my house totally alone. That's like a deadly combination for your mood. Like also work is like 75% of your waking hours. If you're spending 75% of your awake time on this earth doing all of those like mood killers, of course you're going to be down. And I talked about this last week in my How to Make New Friends episode, but my hot take that I'll stand by forever is that I think after COVID, everyone should have gone back to working in person. Of course, like, in extreme special need-based circumstances, like fine, work from home. But I think we all should have gone back to office and we should have all gone back to like social working. And a huge reason why I believe in that is because I think we're all depressed because we're isolating. So anyway, another thing I want to mention in like the kind of space of spending time with your friends is there's this guy named Dan Buettner, and he is like the guy who's credited with coining blue zones, which is like the places on earth where people live the longest. I talk about him a lot. And I will be talking about him a little bit in an upcoming episode with Dr. Jonathan Leary from Remedy Place, who is so cool. I love speaking to doctors on the show. I just feel like I always have so much to learn from them. But Dan Buettner introduced to me this concept of, it's called moai, and it's found in Okinawan culture, which is Okinawa is a blue zone. It's one of the places on earth that people live to like 100 or longer healthily. And the concept, the term of moai actually originated as a way for communities to pool their financial resources. But in kind of modern day, it's a lot more focused on socialization. And it's centered on like having deep respect and like fostering deep understanding and support and connection with one another. So like these group-based friendships are established in childhood, and then they literally last, you guys, these people's entire lives. They stay friends with their moai for like 100 fucking years. It's actually super common in Okinawa. And it's actually linked not only to increased happiness and stress reduction and emotional equilibrium, but it literally is like factored in as one of the reasons these people live longer. So if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Hang out with your friends. It's good for your mood and your health, and literally it'll make you live forever. Okay, number 5. I don't know if this sounds silly, but I think you should cook or bake something. And here's why. It kind of incorporates a lot of the things I'm talking about. Like, go buy your groceries for it in real life. There's your purposeful outside human interactive activity for the afternoon. But then it's also like very methodical, and it consumes all 5 of your senses, and it's like a step-by-step process. So you don't have the space to like ruminate or wallow in your like anxiety or depression or stress or sadness about other things. Plus, there's a reward at the end. There's like a goal to work toward. And like when you accomplish it, you get this like tiny sense of kind of pride in yourself. And of course, there are 2 ways to go when you're cooking or baking, and you can bake or cook something healthy, or you can do something indulgent. Now, healthy will make you feel good in the sense of like wholeness and self-betterment, and indulgent will be emotionally comforting. And in this space, we listen and we don't judge. And our favorite indulgent thing in the world happens to be Duncan Hines brownies. And like, is that great for you? No, but that is my comfort thing. So I think you should cook or bake something. I have always used cooking or baking as a stress reduction thing, and lately, like, I kind of have recently pulled myself out of a funk that lasted, kid you not, like a whole month. It was like getting really depressing to be me. But something I'm doing right now on kind of my journey out on like the ramp up is I've been cooking like 3 or 4 nights a week. And it's a really nice kind of thing that I do to transition from this is my work day to after I cook, I'm done with work and responsibilities. I'm going to just take care of myself after that. So I have been going in the morning after I go to the gym. On my way home, I'll like go buy groceries at like, it'll be like 8 a.m. And then I'll have everything I need at the end of the workday to like, I'll change out of my work clothes, which like I always dress, almost always these days dress for work, even if I'm just working from home, because it's another part of this. It's like I'm sectioning out my work time and my personal time. And that has really, I don't know, it's really helped me relax after work to be like, okay, now I'm putting on cozies. Now I'm going to spend half an hour cooking a meal. And then at the end, like I have this beautiful, healthy, nourishing meal, and I feel good eating it. And I'm like proud of myself that I did that. And then it transitions me into like, okay, now the rest of my night is like for me. I'm really loving it. So cook or bake something, I think it's like undervalued as a coping mechanism. Number 6, add newness add a sense of novelty to your life. The reward center in your brain is activated when it is exposed to new stimuli and when it learns new things. Bonus points if that new thing is associated with an end goal, like cooking. So I could talk for hours about why goal setting and goal achievement are so good for your brain. But if you want the science behind that, make a note right now to listen to episode 1 of this podcast. It's all about New Year's resolutions because that was like the time of year that I put it out, but it applies to all kinds of like goal setting all year round. But so go listen to that. But for the purposes of keeping this episode compact, I'll just say that setting and achieving goals helps rewire and literally grow your brain. They give us a sense of pride and accomplishment. They release dopamine as we approach goal achievement, and they are proven to improve your brain health and make us mentally stronger. For example, like a week ago now, if you follow me on social, you know, I went on my first run outdoors ever. Ever in my life. I've never done that, which is weird because I've done every kind of fitness in the history of the world. But I guess I just had this like mental block where I was like, running is the worst. But then I started going to like these Barry's classes and Rumble treadmill classes. And I was like, wait, I kind of dig this. So I tried going on a run outside for the first time ever. It was like, I feel like I put in a puzzle piece into my life that was missing. It was all of the good things. It was experiencing the outside world. It was getting vitamin D. It was like breathing fresh air. It was releasing endorphins because I'm doing something physical and something new. And it was like, oh my God, I'm not very good at this. Like I now have something that I can like work toward and work for. It really felt like purposeful. If you don't go on a run, like if you don't want to go on a run, I don't blame you. I understand. Then like plan a trip, go explore a new city or a new culture, make new friends. Oh my God, that's such a reward. That's like one of the most rewarding things you can do, I think, in this lifetime. To me, relationships are currency. You could be the richest person in the world, but if you are lonely, that money is worth nothing. So I think making new friends is one of the most valuable things you can possibly do with your short time here on this flying rock. And if you want to learn how to do that, because it can feel hard or weird or intimidating as an adult, go back and listen to last week's episode, which is all about how to make friends as an adult. So if you didn't listen to that, go listen to that one. Okay, number 7. We're going to actually kind of like circle back to goals for a second because number 7 is just to set a goal, even if it's not related to something new or novel. It could be something like related to something you do every single day, but you're just going to challenge yourself and set a goal that you want to hit within a certain time frame. Maybe you're a lifelong runner, but maybe you sign up for a race. It gives you something to look forward to. It gives you something to work toward, which are huge, by the way, for just having a sense of purpose and a sense of accomplishment. More ideas. Join a class or a workshop that has a final project where like everything you learn culminates in one place. Do a reading challenge. Maybe you read every night in bed, but maybe you make a goal like I want to finish this book by the end of next month, or I want to read 12 books this year. It could be something as little, you guys, as like making your bed every morning for a week. It all has that same concept of being proud of yourself and like building trust in yourself and kind of building faith in yourself that like if I set my mind to something, I can do it. And like those goals really don't even have to be like new or huge to make it work. Okay, number 8 is move your body. And you're probably rolling your eyes at me right now because this is like so wellness influencer of me to say, but there is so much science to back this up. Moving your body triggers the release of endorphins and dopamine and serotonin in your brain, which are proven to improve your mood, reduce stress, and boost your sense of well-being almost immediately after you start moving. But if you keep it up long term, the benefits are actually compounded. Regular physical activity can also improve your sleep quality. It can increase your energy levels. It can enhance self-esteem. I was literally just talking to my best friend, Maddie, about this because I just, like I said, I recently pulled myself out of a week's long funk. And I literally think my first step that I did was I set limits on my phone, so I wasn't using my phone as much. I started going outside to run my errands, and I started buying groceries to eat healthy, and I started exercising. And kid you not, 4 days later, I was texting her like, well, I'm not depressed anymore. So number 9, the next one is going to be to eat healthy. And I know I also just told you to eat brownies, but like that's more like a treat. And then when you go do this strategy, the goal is to make it at least slightly like longer term. Like do this for the duration it takes you to like get out of your kind of slump at least. Now, I'm not telling you to eat healthy in a sort of like woo way. I'm telling you this because sugar, particularly refined and processed sugars, can contribute to feelings of depression because they cause significantly higher blood sugar spikes and also significantly lower blood sugar crashes, which make you feel lethargic and cranky. Sugars, in addition to saturated and trans fats, so like fried food, like all that gross stuff, can also lead to inflammation in the body, which makes you feel like sluggish and bloated and uncomfortable. And they also disrupt the regulation of brain chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that serotonin was affected by what you eat. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. All of this stuff can negatively impact the way you regulate your mood and contribute to depressive symptoms. So, what you're eating can literally make you depressed. So, while I do believe in comfort food on occasion and like emotionally, sometimes it does help me get out of kind of a funk, the key to that is mindfulness and moderation because there have definitely been times where I ate an entire pint of ice cream or like a Big Mac or something right after a breakup. And then did I feel better in the moment? Sure. But then I felt so much worse like an hour later, even though it was rewarding in that moment. And I also think like in a less sciencey way, and when I was talking to Maddie about this, this is kind of like how I explained it. I think sometimes when I'm down, it's because things outside of my control are not going my way. And I really personally struggle with feeling out of control. But when I'm consistently eating healthy and moving my body, I am baseline just feeling happier. I'm feeling more balanced. I'm feeling more in control. I'm feeling like proud of myself. That is within my control. What I'm eating and how I'm moving my body are within my control. So then when things outside of my control rock the boat doesn't like flip over and sink to the depths of the ocean. The boat rocks, but then it finds like equilibrium, right? Like the ocean ebbs and flows, it finds its balance again. So I think besides all the sciencey stuff, or honestly, like maybe as a direct result of the sciencey stuff, that's how eating well and moving my body every day helped me out of a rut. It's real. I know it sounds like I'm just a health influencer, but like, what motive do I have to tell you guys to eat vegetables? Think about it. How does that affect my life? Right? The only reason I'm telling you to do that is because eating healthy for just a couple days and moving my body consistently for a couple days helped me change my feelings and like depressive mood that I was in. The power of that is actually underrated. I think it gets lost with how much we say, like, eat healthy, move your body. It sounds like so woo and so like empty. And I know you don't always feel motivated to do it, but I'm sharing it with you because it actually worked. So give it a shot. Number 10, journal. Don't laugh at me. Journal. This is new for me. And I think I've talked about it already, but like, I really used to think it was so cheesy. And it was, like, embarrassing. I don't know why it's embarrassing to, like, write on a piece of paper in your own home by yourself, but it literally was in the beginning. But I have learned that even though it does feel so embarrassing the first time you do it, it becomes so much easier if you do it every day. And then, like, by like, it literally, like, maybe a week in, it's literally as good as therapy, and you can do it for free, and you can do it from home, and it literally takes, like, 5 minutes a day. So if you're new to journaling, I recommend, because this is how I did it and it worked, start out by just like writing your stream of consciousness, thoughts, and feelings. Like maybe if you can't even access that, it could just be like what you have on your schedule today and like what you're up to, kind of. So, like the first time I journaled, that's what I did. And I wrote maybe like 3 sentences, but I kept doing it. I just like made it a priority every single morning before I started my workday. I was just like, I'm just going to dump all my jumbled brain speak onto this piece of paper right now because I feel kind of like chaotic and the voices are voicing and like I need to like kind of center and ground myself before I start working. Otherwise, I'll be like all over the place kind of. And organically, I just started to get like more comfortable with it and naturally started to incorporate what I thought of things and how I felt about things and like what I'm proud of or happier about or struggling with. And now, like only a couple weeks later, I write for like 10 minutes every morning and the words like fly off the pen. It is so cathartic. It's such a good brain dump. All of those anxieties in my brain are like out on a page in the world instead of swirling around in my head. And that also helps me kind of put them aside. Like when I need to focus on work and all the voices are going in my head, it just kind of quiets them down and I put them over there. And then when I put them aside, I can revisit them later, sometimes even with like a different or fresh or like more perspective. And then it's actually sometimes easier to work through them after taking some time to step away from them. And a really good idea, I think, to incorporate for journaling is to also incorporate things you're grateful for every day. And just like journaling, I used to think this was like so corny and stupid, but I've cracked the code for gratitude journaling and I'm going to share it with you because we don't gatekeep in this household. That's the whole point of me being here, you guys. So the key to gratitude journaling is to get like microscopically specific. Because it's so easy, like when you're gratitude journaling, to just write like, I'm grateful for my friends and my family and my health. And if you're lucky enough to have your friends and your family and your health, you could say that every single day. And then it's like so vague and kind of macro that it's hard to actually feel genuine, targeted appreciation for them. So here's a list of things that I've written in my gratitude journal recently that I'm grateful for to give you an example of like just how micro you should go. And I don't care if you laugh at me, it's things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that I took this from my journal, you guys. This is so funny. I'm grateful that I live near my preferred bank so I don't have to pay ATM fees every time I want cash. Okay, Sam. I wrote, I'm grateful to have a handyman who is employed by my building so it doesn't cost a fortune and a whole lot of stress to see little household fixes pile up and cause me stress throughout the year. I'm grateful that my boyfriend lives a 10-minute walk away from me so I can see him almost every day. This comes from a girl who has done long distance before. I'm grateful that my parents live in New Jersey and I live in New York, so I have the opportunity to spend time with them whenever I want, especially as they get older. I'm grateful that my community on here is so open and vulnerable because even when I feel isolated, I can connect with people from afar who have shared experiences and feelings. Do you see how micro this is? Like getting specific not only allows you to focus your appreciation on one thing at a time and be intentional with it, which like really helps you feel the gratitude more deeply, but it also shows you how much there is to be grateful for in this life and how dramatically they outweigh the problems you are experiencing. The number of problems the problems might be big, right? But the sheer number of things in this world that there are to be grateful for vastly outnumber the number of things that there are to be upset about. Number 11, do something nice for someone else. This is something I learned from my boyfriend. I was spiraling about this podcast. I was feeling like I wasn't doing a good job and that I was underserving you guys and that it could be better and I'm just not good enough. And what if it fails? And what if I fail? And all the things that an entrepreneur feels like literally every single day of their lives. And my boyfriend is a brilliant entrepreneur and he is uniquely, especially for a man, in touch with his inner self. And he has an extremely growth-oriented mindset. And he's a little bit older than me and further down the entrepreneurial road than I am. So he has been in these shoes approximately 1 billion times. And his advice that made the biggest impact on me is when you are feeling this way, do something nice for someone else. Now, my first instinct was to be completely incredulous. I was like, I'm sorry, I need to do something nice for me. Like, how could it possibly help me right now to spend time or energy or money making someone else's day better when I am going to have to figure out how to just survive the rest of mine? And I remember like how triggered I was by that. I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, that's your big advice? So like I said earlier in this episode 100 times, I lately have been kind of like pulling myself out of a funk. And it's just been like a little bit of a rough go. And I've had very little motivation, like to kind of be the person that I'm most proud of. And like, I think I'm there right now. But this past week, no matter what you're seeing from me on social, what you're hearing from me on the podcast, don't forget that like you don't see everything from other people. So like you don't know what everyone's going through. And like I was having a rough go. And one day I was coming home from some meetings and I found out through someone else that the next day was one of my doorman's birthday. This man has been with my building as a doorman for 53 years. There are people who live in my building who were literally born there and don't know what it's like to live a day without this man in the building. He takes the best care of me, and everyone says the same thing. He takes the best care of us. He is so sweet to me. He makes every single day, he like puts a little bright spot in my day when I get to see him. I always get a hug and a kiss on top of my head when I get home from a long day at work. He's always so happy to see me. We have wonderful conversations. He's just like a really special person in my life, and he has become that person for me since the very first day I moved in. And I know his family doesn't live nearby. So when I found out he was turning like, guys, I kid you not, like 80 something, I just like really felt moved to make him feel loved and feel special. So I bought him flowers and I bought him a snack and I wrote him a little note. And on his birthday, I went downstairs to deliver them to him. And it was one of the most profound moments of human connection that I think I've experienced in my entire life. And I didn't do it for me. Like, I didn't do it to be able to say I did it or to like make myself feel good or proud or whatever. But the reason I share this story now is that it sort of made something inside of me shift. And it reminded me that our greatest purpose here on this earth is not to make $1 billion or get that promotion or buy the fancy house or like post on Instagram that I'm having like the best trip ever. It is simple, and it is just like to find each other and to love each other and to connect with each other. And it really just changed my perspective, and it made me understand my boyfriend's advice in a way that I like really didn't in the beginning. So do something nice for someone else that like comes from your heart. Do it for someone or for a cause that you care about. I really think it will help pull you out of the spiral. Number 12, do indulgent self-care activities. Listen, everyone, myself included, as you can tell from a lot of this list, wants you to do self-improvement things. And some of them help you both instantly and long-term. And that's why people recommend them, like working out. You release the endorphins instantly. It starts boosting your mood immediately, but it's also going to make you happier and feel better long-term. Like I said, there's no ulterior motive here. I wouldn't tell you to do those things to torture you or to make you feel bad about yourself. They really do work, and that's why I and so many other people suggest them. But I also believe that there are softer and gentler ways to take care of yourself, and sometimes they're just really indulgent, and that's okay too. My personal toolkit of coping mechanisms, literally, genuinely 100%, would not be complete without every single one of the following things. So here's my little list of indulgent self-care things that I do when I'm feeling down. I go to the movies and I eat the gross popcorn with the butter on it, and I put Bunch of Crunch in it, and I have the biggest fucking Sprite of my life. That thing is like the size of my torso, and I drink the whole fucking thing. I get a massage. I pick a day of the weekend and I turn my phone all the way off. And I literally just rot in my bed and I watch television. My depression movie is actually Sex and the City. I know that's so crazy. It's not exactly like some amazing piece of cinema, but I have, kid you not, probably seen this movie now upwards of 50 times. I could quote almost the entire thing, and it has never failed me. Sometimes you just need to let your brain go somewhere else and not owe anyone anything, even a reply to a text. And also, I think too, like sometimes it's easier to cry at a movie instead of cry over your own stuff. And it still helps to just like release the weight of that emotion that's kind of like been weighing on you, no matter like what it takes to get it out of you. Another thing, do your evening everything routine, but like take your everything to the max. Do your full everything shower, shave your legs, exfoliate, like do your hair, clean up your eyebrows, do a lip scrub, do a face mask, do your skincare, a hair mask, lotion your entire body, slap on some self tanner. I don't know also what it is about being tan that just improves your mood, but it totally does. Get a spray tan if you don't want to do it at home, but I usually find that the at-home ones actually look more natural if you're good at applying it, and it's easier to do it on a whim without leaving the house. So literally sometimes you just need to give yourself a break from the constant weight of trying to be your best self because while that is a beautiful thing and it is a huge part of your long-term happiness, it also sometimes just feels like a lot of pressure and a lot of weight and you're constantly chasing this finish line that keeps moving. So take a break from trying to be your best self. Give yourself the space to honor your cravings and your big feelings and that need to turn off your brain. We deserve it. I guess I just want to end the episode by saying the average human life expectancy right now as it stands is 73 and a half years, which means that on average, we will live for 882 months. And when you say it like that, it just doesn't sound very long. I'm 27 and a half right now, and if I live to 73 and a half, I have 552 months left. Obviously, I'm hoping to have more, but who knows? If you're being real, if you're being 100% real, I could have 1 day left. And when I'm really feeling down, despite that information being a little depressing in nature, it actually helps me to think that way because if you knew that you only had 1 day left or 1 year left or 100 months left, how would you use them? I can think of about 1,000,000 things that I would rush to do in that window, many of which would make me feel fulfilled and purposeful and hopeful and happy. And since the truth is nobody knows when their time is up, that's how we should live every day, right? And if you approach every day that way, it's really hard to feel lost at sea. I hope that today you learned something or that you found an idea for how to pull yourself out of a rut and that you are taking care of yourself in whatever way feels best for you. Healing comes in many, 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 many different forms. And these are just some of my personal favorite things to do that I genuinely find are impactful and that make an immediate and also a long-term difference in my life. So if you liked this episode, please don't forget to share it with a friend and save it so you can return to it anytime you're feeling down and need just a little extra boost. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for giving Caps Lock a chance. If you liked this episode, please stick around for more because we have some really interesting topics coming up, including protein powder, how to make a good first impression, the importance of recovery after a workout, friend breakups, manifestation, cortisol, and so much more. Some will be solo episodes and some will feature scientists, founders, experts, doctors, and other very cool, smart people. If there's a topic you want to hear about on Caps Lock, send me a message. And lastly, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Threads at Life in Caps Lock. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Leave me a rating or review. If you are still listening at this point, please leave a rating or review. It is what makes me keep doing the podcast, honestly. And tune in next Sunday at 8 a.m. for another episode of Caps Lock. Okay. Love you guys. Talk soon. There she goes. Thank you.